Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Comic Chronicle podcast. I'm your guys' host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. Today, we have a really fun show today. It is a really good episode if you guys like writing or you're a fellow writer or author, such as me and my guest here today. Stephen Englehart is on the show. The man, the myth, the legend, co-creator of Star-Lord, Mantis, Kilowog from DC, the Manhunters. So much goodness, and he writes such good stories too. He's on the show, and I even dubbed it in the episode, the TED Talk episode of the podcast, because we talk so much motivational and inspirational stuff in the sense of, being a writer and what to do, what to bring into, creating these characters, and if you're a writer, what to bring to your characters yourself. And, we talk to him working on Marvel DC, the terms and conditions that they are in and have been in. Seriously, guys, it is a really interesting and fascinating episode. And we get behind the scenes with Steven, too, and how he became to be. So if you guys like the episode and want to stay tuned for more, we have new episodes every Monday, of course. And if you subscribe, it helps us really, really help us out immensely. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or even comicchronicle.podbean.com. You can catch us up on there. Or if you want to follow the show on social media, at Dakota_Morgan97 on Instagram or at DakotaMorgan3 on Twitter. So yeah, folks, hopefully you guys enjoy the episode. Stay tuned for more. And without this going on for too long, here is my talk with Steven. Yeah, we're recording. Steven, I want to get it on record, though. Thank you for coming on the show, because I definitely got to say, and you might get this a lot, this is an extreme honor to have you on the show.
I've learned the whole secret to extreme honors, and the use of the word legendary just happens because you've been around for a long time.
It's true. Is that word wore off on you yet, or are you like, yes,
well,
give it definitely?
I did what I did, and then I didn't die. So now I'm, but when we first sort of noticed that the word legendary was coming up a lot, I was calling myself the legendary Steve Englehart, IELSEIELC. So around our house, I get referred to as Elsie.
Oh my God. That's the definition of an inside joke, and it is amazing. I 100% got to say, that's amazing.
It's I find it hard to imagine myself as being legendary, or that you need to be honored,
Yeah,
whatever.
But I think that's the key. Like, as a guy with my amount of fans, like, that sounds not pretentious, but like with my fans, right? Like they tell you, oh, you're really inspired, motivating, all this other crazy stuff. And I'm like, am I really though? I don't know about it. And that's apparently the healthy way to look upon it. Because if you're like, yes, keep the compliments are coming to me, then you're just turning into this pretentious dude. It does not work well in your favor. So I think we're living a good way.
It's not my nature, and I have seen other people go down that road, and as you say, not a good road to go down.
It's true. But I mean, who knows? Karma seems to be taking full effect on people. Like we were talking before the recording, you never know what can happen to those people these days. So maybe they touched the wrong door handle. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
It's true. Like, oh yes, I am the wonderful person, and then they just all of a sudden get sick a week later, and everyone's like, well, that sucks. Sucks to be you.
Well, I'll tell you a quick. We're all the summation of things that we learned along the way, and
true.
A story that sticks with me is the first time I was going to go to Europe. I went to New York first for a while before I went to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and this skinny guy came up to me. This was in '76, I guess. This skinny guy came up to me and he said, "Mr. Englehart, my name's Frank Miller, and I wonder if we could do something together sometime." And I said, "Well, I'd be happy to, but I'm about to go to Europe. I can't do anything." And I went to Europe, and I come back, and I ran into Frank in the halls, and he came up to me and he says, "Hi, I'm Frank Miller."
Like,
Things had changed while I was gone, but he came. What I always hope to see, because I think everybody kind of goes through that. Nobody knows who you are, and then you do something, and they go, "Oh, we like that," and you go, "Yeah, I guess you do." But hopefully you get to the point where you go, "Yeah, but I don't want to be, a pretentious jerk. I'll go on from there." Frank did. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
But I just was struck at how when you it's easy. Because you get all these letters and stuff going, "You're really good." So after a while, you go, oh, well, I guess I am, you know?
It's true. You're like,
But,
this man's on something.
it's like, yeah, okay. So, you, whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, you're absolutely right on that. I mean, you just can't. Maybe it's Midwestern valleys in me that are like, because I may, like I said, I'm in Arizona. I make it perfectly clear. I say in an intro later on after record, but I grew up in Illinois for about 16 years, and
Oh,
it's
okay. I'm
either,
from Indiana.
huh?
I'm from Indiana.
Oh, we're based. I mean, it's the same thing. I like about like, well, one's a little bit safer to live in, and I tell people it's like, you know what? There's two types of people in Illinois: the really charismatic, nice people, or the ones you will walk across the street to avoid. So there's two types of people. I chose to be the one that's nice. So hey.
Yeah.
But oh man, well, I just probably pissed off every fan in Illinois right now. Oh well, so this happens. I love y'all. But yeah, man, I definitely got to say is you've been in the business for a while, but I'm curious right now because I didn't get a chance to look too deeply into it, and I kind of want to ask you yourself, like, what is Steve Englehart doing these days? Like, what is it that you're kind of like working on? Is it retirement? Is it just maybe doing a few small things? Like, what's the daily life for you?
Yes. The answer to that question is yes.
Oh.
I'm basically retired.
Oh.
I've got grandkids. I like to travel. I mean, all that good stuff. On the other hand, I like to write too, and so I'm doing this sort of very large and complex mini series in which each episode is 44 pages because it's so large and complex. Mostly as a test for myself, I mean, I set myself a hard task to have some challenge to do the thing. And then, in addition to that, I've written a couple comics for kids with cancer. People who, a company that makes the machines that deal with cancer treatment, whatever, contacted me, and that's been, very rewarding. I don't want to get too soppy about it, but basically, the idea was to take what the treatment is going to be for the kid and turn it into a superhero story so that you get all the right information, but you get it in a very kid-friendly sort of way. And that's been really, it's been well received, particularly by the kids. And going to hospitals and seeing the kids who are undergoing the treatment, that was not part of my normal reality previously. So that's been very, very good to do. So, I mean, to answer your question, it's just, as I said, at some point, maybe before we started recording, but I'm not dead. So,
Yeah.
I like to write. I like to do a lot of different things, and I got the time to do them. So
you're retired, but not.
Whatever seems right.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. My bad. You're retired, but you're not. So it's like.
Well, the thing with a writer is they don't hand you a gold watch at 65 and say, "Okay, thanks for coming."
True.
It's like if you're right, you're right. You sit in a room by yourself and you make up stories, so you don't really need anybody else to tell you whether you can or can't.
Exactly. Well, and you, I just want to put upon this, to touch upon what you just mentioned with the hospitals. I definitely want to say is, if whatever belief fans or yourself may be, if there is an afterlife, then I 100% say you are going to the good place. 100% you are going to the good place.
You know what the good place really is, though. So
That's true. Yeah. God damn it. It's true.
Whatever.
That made me laugh more harder than it probably should have. Well, so you obviously are doing so much work, it seems still, and I really respect that, because there's writers who I know, I won't say names, but that give up, and then I talked to DeMatteis, God, a couple months ago, I think, at this point, and he was kind of in the same boat. He said, I'm working all the time, but I'm kind of retired, so it's like he does a bit of work, but he's still like, he takes time with the grandkids. Like we were talking about the grandkids before recording and all that other jazz. Like we take the time and relax a little bit, still enjoy the family. And to me, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
I don't know what Mark is doing. I don't do anything, for Marvel or DC. I mean, this thing I'm doing for myself would probably, end up being an image or something like that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, one reason I got out of the business was I wasn't happy with the way the business had gone, becoming more bureaucratic and so forth. And I even understand why it did, but it wasn't what interested me. So I don't know if Mark is doing stuff for Marvel and DC still or what he's doing, but I'm not.
Yeah, he's doing a little bit with it, and I'm with you on that. That things have changed a little bit. We live in a new era of stuff, and I want to tread waters carefully here, so not to tick off a whole bunch of people. But the time's always changing with the motives and the morals and stuff like that too. And there's something really you can really I don't enjoy some of it, and I enjoy some of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's like I don't hate all of it, but I tend to enjoy it. I understand. I get why you left. I honestly do. Like, and because you were around what year? I don't mean to date you.
Oh, I started in 71, 72.
Oh.
So I was there, through, I guess, what we call the Bronze Age now, whatever, all the way to the end of the Marvel Age, and then beyond. But it was, we had a lot more creative freedom back in the day, and the bureaucratic approach just doesn't interest me. I don't have to do it. Fortunately, I can be retired and do what I want to do.
Which is a huge positive.
Yeah, but I totally get people who are younger who are still working in the business. Have to have a different attitude, and I'm just in my situation. I don't have to chase a deadline.
Exactly, and that's why I like working indie books and working for indie companies. Is there is not really there's somewhat, as long as you keep track of stuff a little bit, but I got so much creative freedom. It's nice. It's really relaxing.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah,
oh,
that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah, like that deadline. When there's a deadline on anything, because I also work in the film industry as well. So when you get that deadline, in film, it's scary. But when you get that deadline, it's so much pressure. And I think, what was it? Adam Savage from MythBusters. I listened to his podcast and watch his stuff on YouTube. He said something about like deadlines are the anchor and the stab to the heart or something like that. I'm probably butchering it too, but it was like something we can both relate to. And like when you get a deadline, that stress immediately goes tenfold, especially when they're like, oh, you got a week. Like, oh shit, what am I going to do here? A week? Like, oh, hold on. Like, you want the story here? What about this? And then you're worrying about the logistics, and then you're able to do your story, and then it's just not really that good. And you're like, oh, crap. Deadlines are my bane of existence in film and comics. They really are. But I'm curious on your side of things, Stephen, is as a writer, I don't often get to ask this question too much because I'm curious. What do you like to bring, as a fellow writer, what do you like to bring to what you create? Like, what is the part of Stephen that you bring to your work or an art piece, or even just like a mini poem or anything like that, or even the work you're doing right now?
Well, if I understand the question, maybe I don't, but I'm all about the characters. I really like to write all the different characters. That's one reason I got into comics was because there's so many characters. Yeah. But I really like to get inside each of those heads and try to figure out, who that person would be. That's just always been my approach to, I think you can do a comic with the world's greatest explosion in it, but you have to care whether the characters involved got blown up or not. So to me, the characters are the most important part of the whole deal. It's a hybrid medium. I'm not dismissing art or anything else, but I'm just saying, to me as a writer, what I really want to do is get inside the characters' heads. Because each one should be different, and that's fun for me to go see who this guy is, or this woman is, or whatever.
Yeah, and you want to see the development of that character, like what's their backstory, sort of thing. Like, why do they do what they do? Because they're not just mindless little goons. Not like Kingpin's not a mindless goon, or Magneto's just like, oh, I'm gonna wave a hand and just kill people today because that's what I do. Like, no, there's a reason.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I remember in my earliest days thinking, why is this supervillain doing what he's doing here? Why does he think this is a good idea? And not just making him, as you say, just a straw man who waves his hand and kills people, but all those, good guys, bad guys, whatever. I'm interested in that.
My name is Andrew, and I am the host of a show called Rage Hunter. And on Rage Hunter, we cover the latest news and what's trending in the gaming industry with just a hint of some sarcasm and rage. You probably have this hole, this void in your life that you don't know how to fill. Well, Rage Hunter is going to fill it. And the best part is we are everywhere. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play Store, Spotify, Podbean, Instagram, Twitter. So that way you can get as much rage in your life as possible. And some news while you're at it. So come check us out and be a part of the greatest gaming podcast in the universe. See you there.
How far back do you go with their backstory? Do you go like to the kid years when you're creating the character? Because I go back I'm like Guillermo del Toro. I will go back pretty far to be able to create a character. Like, let's go to the teenage years. It's like, hold on. Like, how far back do you usually go, or do you at all?
Probably far enough. I think this comes from being, on those deadlines, writing those books and so forth. I mean, I go as far as I need to go, but I don't have a set thing that I have to do before I can write a character or anything. I mean, I want to know more than I want to, have some surrounding to the guy, some depth to the guy. Yeah. But I don't need to go any farther than I need to go.
I like it. And I kind of want to touch upon is, because I'm actually really curious upon, I meant to ask about it before, is, Stephen, like, what is this new thing you're working on right now? Because I'm really curious, because it seems like a baby to you. Like, this is my thing, and you're not dead yet, as you said. So still got a little bit left in you. You want to keep going. And, like, this seems like that thing. Like, what is it? Can you give any information on it? Or is it kind of like top secret?
Yeah, it's pretty much top secret.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just because I've set myself some really lofty goals, and I kind of feel like I've got a handle on that, but I haven't actually done it yet, and I don't want to, it may change. Things may change. So that's why I'm not really giving out too much information on it. But
fair enough. I mean, 44 pages is a lot to do.
I know, and for every issue, right? But I couldn't do it in any less. I was originally thinking, I'll just do a comic, and then when I started to write it, it's like, oh no, I need a whole lot more space than I've got in order to make this work. So
this seems like something that is something that you want to put everything you didn't get a chance to do. This seems like, okay, I get to make a character like this now, or I get to do something like that. This seems like this is that final thing. Like, I get to do what I want. Haha.
Yep.
I knew it. It immediately sounded like, well, you have done a lot of work in the comic industry too and whatnot, and it's widely known. Like, what advice can you give to fellow writers out there? Because obviously people are like, this guy's done so much, he's created so much. Like, what can he tell me? Like, what advice can you give the writers out there, Stephen? Because there's got to be, I mean, maybe it's a con question, I know, but like, I'm curious in myself, what sort of thing?
Well, I mean, if you're a professional writer, writing is a job, which means, there are days when you don't feel like it, but you still have to, to do something. And it's kind of, it sort of trains you to not get caught. I mean, everybody gets caught by deadlines now and again, but it kind of, I mean, when I was, in the periods when I was working at Marvel in DC, I was doing 4 books a month, which meant a book a week, which meant my usual thing was like 2 days to like really work out the story, 3 days to write it, 1 day to let it sit there and let me think, did I do anything that I need to change or whatever? And then a day off, and then do it all over again for the next book, whatever. That's what I learned to do. I mean, all this stuff is just, I walked in the door and they said, this is how the job works. So it's like, okay, well then that's what I need to do. So there are times in any writer's life with writer's block or, whatever you want to call it, where you just don't want to do it. But my thing has always been do something, even if you hate every word of it and you're going to change it, you've made some sort of progress. You've written something down, which if all you do is go, that's shit, I have a better idea today. It's like you can't do that if you don't have something in the first place, right? And so, I mean, I had a friend once who said, "I hate writing. I love having written." And
What?
and that's very true. I mean, once you've written something, then you can edit it. Then you can like move things around and add things, and you've got something to work with. But first, writing is the part where you have to create the thing that you're actually working with.
Yeah.
And so, the only advice I've really got is if you think you want to write, write. Don't wait for the muse to strike and only write then. Don't think, yeah, I've got this really good idea and, I'll get to it next week or, it's like, if you want to write. And, and if you don't, if that strikes you as more than you actually want to do, then probably you want to draw or you want to do something else, and everybody's an individual. Let me add that too. So, if you're somebody who takes 3 years to write a comic book, but it's the greatest comic book ever, then more power to you, But my general theory is just go ahead and put something down. And it's a lot easier with a computer. I go back to typewriters, right? I started on typewriters. And like all of us in those days, you learned to make your first draft your only draft. I put down exactly what I wanted to say. I could edit it, I could tweak it around the edges, but basically I could write exactly what I wanted to say the first time through. Once I got a computer and could write shit and then go back and change it.
Yeah. Middle of the night change.
That skill, right?
Yeah.
But you can't always go back and change it. It's like you're not. It's kind of like me and my secret project. Until I have it, I don't want to be. I don't have to put it out there. I'm not going to put it out there because I don't really know that I have it yet.
I like it. You know what though? 100%, Steven. You guys back when, and I'm not meaning to date you or anything like that. I'm not meaning to be like you're old. No.
It's a fact. It's a weird fact, but it's a fact.
The typewriting. I don't know if I would know I'd get used to it. But to me, it sounds like the world away. Like, I just give you guys so much credit for doing all you did on a typewriter. Like, Tom Hanks is a huge typewriter collector, and he says he uses it every now and then. I'm like, how? How do you go back? Like, do you go back at all? Or, like, do you have one still or no? Or
no, I don't have one now. I had the top of the line back in like 1975. This electric thing with the little ball. Did you ever see those things?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
It had the little ball. Yeah, but when my kids were young, and one day they said, I said, let's watch a movie, and they go, well, I don't want to watch this movie. It's in black and white.
What?
And I'm like, there have always been people. At any given point in time, whether you're talking about Shakespeare or Verdi or, silent movies, any of that stuff, people took whatever technology they had and then they applied themselves to get where they wanted to go. So people used to have to write stuff with a pen on paper, with ink in a bottle, and it's like, but they did, it's just you just do whatever it is that you have, and so typewriters, it was before FedEx, it was before the internet, it was before all that stuff. So fine, you just you deal with what you've got. I'm sure that 30, 40 years from now, people are going to. Well, the one thing that strikes me is cars.
What do you mean?
If we keep going toward self-driving cars, I can already imagine people in the future going, they just let anybody get a license and drive around wherever the fuck they want to.
That's true. God, yes.
They were crazy people. How could you get on a road with people who might run into you or do, it's like, well, you just did, but it's going to be, when people can't drive cars anymore, it's going to be, I think people are going to find it very strange that we ever did.
It's I picture the Super Bowl, because in the Super Bowl the last one, there was a commercial, Chris Pratt and a bunch of other actors, and they were all doing their Boston accent, and it was a self-parking car. Yeah, my dad, who's a mechanical engineer, shout out to you, Jason, is my dad. He does auto work all the time. We're not big guy in cars, has been forever. And the immediate words were, "Get the fuck out of here!" And it's like he's like, "This no, that will never work." And then it's like, "Oh wait, it does." Wait a minute here, no. And it's because I just immediately think of that because if I ever get with anybody, then whenever I'm a grandfather and say if I live that long, then I'm gonna look upon it. I will remember this conversation, Stephen, and be like, "Oh, I remember Stephen once told me this. That oh my god, I remember that." We used to drive cars, kids, and they're like, "You used to drive? What's a steering wheel?" And it's like, "Oh no." Oh.
And I'm gonna be, I like to drive, so I mean, I'm gonna, when they won't let us drive anymore, I'm gonna be one of those people who actually got to tool down the road, and do what I want to do. But that'll go away. There'll be something new, which is the way of the world.
That's true. If there's a world left, according to everything, says it's not, but
yeah.
Going on the world these days. Well, it kind of gets me on wondering how back in the day. Well, actually, I'll touch upon this fact first. Is with us talking about this, I gotta mention it. Is the other day, and this has happened to me 2 times in 6 months, that I have had someone 12, 13-year-old, and they were my stepsister or something. I believe it was my stepsister, and came upon and was like, "Hey, what's Blockbuster?" And in Hollywood Video, like they said they watched, I might not have been my stepsister, but they immediately were like, "What's Hollywood Video? I saw this video talking about it on YouTube." And someone was like, and she's like, "Yeah, but what about Blockbuster?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a place where you rent DVDs." DVDs? I'm like, "Oh my god." Oh no. I've hit that age.
Yeah. Oh. Well, it's been an amazing ride here for the since the 80s, I guess. I mean, Apple with 1984 Macintosh commercial, etc. I mean, we've just unbelievable stuff that's happened in the last 35 years, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just...
Hey folks, Dakota here with a little bit of an ad break for you guys today. Do you guys like reading comics? Obviously, if you listen to the show, you do. What the fuck am I talking about? Then you guys, if you're in Arizona, which a good majority of the fan base is, shout out to the ones in Canada though, you guys can go to Drawn to Comics in Glendale, Arizona, located at 5801 West Glendale Avenue in Glendale, Arizona. I gotta say, folks, I've been going here for a long time now. I've been to a few different comic book stores in Arizona in my 6 years of living here so far, and this may change due to the recording nature, but whatever. So I love going to Drawn to Comics. I really do. Ken, who runs it, is an amazing, fucking laid-back dude. He's a wonderful guy. He's been on the show, ladies and gentlemen, before. And it's a really fun place to pick up the book. So Drawn to Comics in Glendale, Arizona. Get yourself a box, Go in, maybe just check it out. It's a fun place to escape into. All the workers there are fucking wonderful folks. They really are. It's just like family at this point, at least for me. And it's a fun world to go into. There's collectibles there. There's toys. There's comics. And you just get your box and reserve some books and whatnot. We've had people on the show who've written and drawn comics, Go in and pick up their work, folks. Jesus Christ. It ain't that difficult. So go to Drawn the Comics in Glendale, Arizona, folks. You guys can check them out also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks, everyone. Now back to the show.
Deal with it.
Exactly. And I quickly moved on, but it's still one of those that throws you for a loop in a minute. You're like, wow. And shit, I still buy DVDs. I'll go on record. I still buy DVDs, and on my bookcase, I got a couple VHS, and they ain't going anywhere. So call me Scrooge. Well, Stephen, I was going on back in the day, good man. Like, how did you get started in writing? Because from what I've been told by friends of mine and the business and whatnot too, it was kind of tough for them. A lot of them, it was really tough in the 70s and the 80s. In the 60s too, being like, I want to be a writer. Was it tough for you, or was it kind of one of those things like you had a good support system of friends and family?
Well, there's a lot of things to unpack there. Back in the day, if you wanted to work in comics, you had to physically relocate to New York City because it was before the internet or FedEx or anything. So you had to be able to physically go into the office and hand people stuff, and they had to hand stuff to you. They couldn't mail it, but I mean, by and large, 99% of everybody in comics all lived in New York. So I'm from Indiana, right? So I didn't have any friends or family support people around there, but I had everybody in comics. You know,
Yeah.
everybody in comics was there. So you'd go to parties, and Wally Wood would be there.
Oh
and
God.
Frank Miller would be there,
Yeah.
and, at various times. But I'm just saying, we had this subgenre of comic book people in New York. So you had all those people. In my case, I wanted to be an artist. It was the art that really interested me in comics, and that's what I was pursuing. I was in New York as a young artist, and I've told this story a lot, but I mean, Gary Friedrich. One of my friends was Gary Friedrich, who wrote Nick Fury and Sergeant Fury and a Ghost Rider. And a stewardess was murdered in the apartment above his, and his wife said, I want to get out of this city for a while. So he went back, he took her back to Missouri, where he was from, and he called me up and he said, I'm going to be gone for 6 weeks. Would you like to fill in for me as the lowest level of editorial assistant at Marvel? And I almost said no, because I was living in Connecticut at the time.
Oh.
But I thought, well, I'm a Marvel fan, whatever. So I took it, and after 6 weeks, he decided he didn't want to come back, and he had also decided that he had this 6-page or 8-page monster story that he had plotted, but he didn't feel like writing. He was really just chilling out in Missouri. So he sent it back, and Roy Thomas, really did kind of a you want to write this thing?
Sure. Sure, no problem, boss.
Sure,
Yeah.
I mean, fine, I'll do whatever. But I liked the writing, and they liked the writing. So they said, you want to do some more? And I said, yeah, and that's how I became a writer, So I was inside Marvel. In those days, you would start out, after Monster Stories, or even with more Monster Stories, but also they were still doing romance books, and they were doing Western books, and they were doing monster books. So you would write these little 6-page stories for that kind of thing as a kind of learning experience, how to write for comics. And then they were also evaluating, could this guy actually write Captain America or not, or whatever. And, so it wasn't until they thought, okay, we'll give him the Beast. We'll see what he can do with the Beast. That I got like a regular superhero thing. And then, but they were publishing a lot of books. I don't know what you said your friends had trouble, and I don't know how that exactly worked, but they were publishing a lot of books. And so if they liked you, they'd say, hey, want to do some more? And if they liked that, they'd say, want to do some more? And, so then I got up to 4 books a month, or even 5 books a month, which I did decide that was too many. I couldn't keep it up at 5 books a month. But so pretty soon I was doing 4 different titles at any given time, and that's where I learned about you have to sit down and you have to actually do the work, because it's all due at some point, and so I learned to be a mass market writer who works on deadline, which is not what everybody learns to be when they pursue writing, but that's that's what I learned to do, so that's what I did.
I like it. So you kind of just went with it. You were just like, you're like, okay, I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to take the opportunities at hand here. I'm going to go for it. Like, was there anybody who was kind of like, hey, Steven, it's not going to work? Or was people like really behind your back on this? Because it seemed like you just took it and ran with it. And I know if I just all of a sudden moved to New York, it would have been, hell breaking loose. And with everyone I know, their friends, family, they'd be, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, what's going on here? Was it really that, like, when you decided to go leave, was it one of those, like, things like, oh, Steven's going to become homeless? Or was it like, oh, no, he's actually doing good stuff?
I'm sorry, it broke up just a little bit there. I didn't hear, what was the question?
Oh, no. I'm just wondering, like, was it really, like, were everyone around you, like, your friends, family sort of thing, were they really supportive when you decided to go out and be like, yeah, I'm going to go do comics? Or was it one where like, oh, Steven's going to be homeless on the side of the road here soon?
No, I think my friends were all supportive. My father didn't think much of it as a career choice. But that's another thing about how weird this whole thing is, because I did it because I wanted to do it, because it satisfied me. I could make a living doing it, in the moment, et cetera, et cetera. But nobody had any idea that there'd be movies later.
Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah.
Right. So I can't say if I didn't think about this stuff back when I was young. I didn't have to. I'm not in this reality, but I mean, I didn't think about, well, what's going to happen when I get old, when I can't, whatever. But as it turned out, they're making movies out of all this stuff. So, I ended up, as I say, being able to be retired and not having to, chase any deadlines. It's all been, I mean, I've been very lucky, basically. I've been in the right place at the right time, and I had to deliver the goods when I was there. But I mean, I had opportunities that people don't get these days, and just luck of the draw. That's just I was there.
Yeah.
And stuff happened.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, it's but you still kept going with it. And I think as creators, I'm with you 100%. Like, you want to do it because you want to do it, and I'm with you 100%. And because I work in film because I want to work in film, I'm not doing it to get rich. I'm not working in comics to be a billionaire. It ain't gonna really happen. I like to tell stories and like to create. So
it can. Somebody could license your comic and make a movie out of it, and then I mean that's possible these days.
Oh, way possible. Oh yeah. I even if they don't, I'm fine with it, because the company I work for, they're like, we're gonna do live action commercials. I was like, okay, that's if I die and that's all I get is a live action commercial, that's fine. I don't even I am okay with that, because I still got to do what I wanted to do, and make a living off of it. And it's that thing where I think as creators, and often you hear about it in the film business, is we don't often look at retirement. We often look upon it as, what's the next thing we're gonna do? Because we figure we're gonna die doing what we love. That's because it doesn't seem that bad. That seems like the way to go. Like, oh, he just kneeled over in a workshop, or was at the writing desk and just kneeled over, and we got the rest of the script here. Let's publish it. Okay, and it's like that's good. Like, to me, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. Whole lot better than working in an office.
Yes.
Sorry to everybody who works in an office, but I mean,
sorry, listeners.
Freelance is great if you can, if you can make it work well enough that you can pay your bills with it. If you can't, then you end up by the side of the road, I guess. And shit, but if you can make it work, it's a great life.
Exactly. And shit, I'm even happy and people are like, oh, you're a comic writer, you want to go for the big two, don't you? And I'm like, no, if I do one thing, I'm fine. I'll be happy. But if I don't, you won't get any shits, whatever. I won't. I'll be like, that's fine. I didn't. I still got to create 5 different books. I can't talk about any of them. Well, I can talk about a couple that are out, but I can't talk about some. But I still get to create and have 5 different series, merge with video game tie-ins, all this other stuff. It's fine, and that's why a lot of people, I think, a lot of creators are like that and get a lot of flack these days for it. It's weird to me that people are like, oh, you got to do the retirement. My retirement is my job,
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, again, one of the lucky things for me was that in the 70s, the economy was great. We were having a war. I mean, there's this and that and the other thing. But I mean, you could certainly decide that you didn't need to worry about your 401k.
Yeah.
And I mean, you didn't have to really. Things would be okay.
Yeah.
So you had that option, and I don't think that's necessarily true for a lot of people today.
No, I mean, well, shit. We were talking about it before. I mean, you get the drink with a lime, and then everything goes to shit. It's just the immediate. It's over. Because I was listening to a show today, and they were talking about the stocks, and I was like, huh, this is interesting, because it's just oh, yeah. So you never know with that. And times are really changing, folks, for good and bad.
Right.
Oh. Well, I'm kind of curious on this, because you obviously, I mean, the big thing, people are like, he did this, Steven did this, and created all these characters. Would you, if they called you, be like, Steven, we want you to touch upon Star-Lord, or anything or Kilowog, would you give a review or touch upon it or anything like that for an issue in anything? Movie stuff aside, because that's a whole separate animal. When it comes to books, would you do anything for it? or you're like, I've done my piece, I let it go. Hey folks, Dakota here, and do you guys like Dungeons and Dragons as much as I do? Because if so, you're gonna like Adventures in Green and Garb. You know, they're a really fun new group on YouTube, they're a whole D&D campaign group, but let me tell you what they're all about. Adventures in Green and Garb started as most D&D campaigns do, around their parents' dinner table. Last year, they decided to bring it to YouTube, though, with the addition of costumes and green screens. Come on, that's adds some really cool flavor right there. Still in the family, their Season 1 campaign is nearing its exciting conclusion, with many mysteries yet to be revealed. They hope you enjoy it as much as they love making it and playing, doing so much with D&D. So smash that like button, subscribe, and share, and look for them at this year's Gen Con. So I'm extremely excited to have these guys a part of the Comic Chronicle and Film World podcast, you know, to partner up and all that such, because they're truly wonderful people, and you guys should go subscribe and support them and give them a like. They're really, really fun. And because we've been playing throughout the commercial, I'm going to play you guys the theme that they have. The first time you're listening to this, you're going to want to go subscribe. And then we'll get right back to the podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Let us roll you a tale where heroes prevail as we wander the blight, prepared for the fight. On the edge of the world, claiming almighty glory, in spite of the cost, love and loss frame our story. We won't turn back now, bloodied by dragons made gory. We roll this tale for you, roll for you. Banded by fate, oblivion beware, watch as great fires whirl, lightning cracking the air, olden powers unleashed, together taming the beast. We roll this tale for you, roll for you.
Come then chat along, ye daring hearts, stone unstrung, be not afraid, douse your doubts and join the fray.
Keep moving on, don't quit. Green and Garb won't forfeit. Don't look back, stay alive, smite them, survive. Keep moving on, don't quit. Green and Garb won't forfeit. Don't look back, stay alive, smite them, survive. Steadfast and true, we surrender our lives to defend all the realm till that good day arrives. When we lay down our swords, bodies scarred and bruised, having rolled a tale for you. Roll for the edge of the world, claiming almighty glory, in spite of the cost, love and loss frame our story. We won't turn back now, bloodied by dragons made gory. We roll this tale for you, roll for you.
I probably would for Marvel, and I probably would not for DC.
Really?
I'm not a big fan of DC's. They treated me really badly over the Batman movie, and they've never, and a few other things too. DC is corporate, and they don't, it's like, we own it. Thanks for playing. We're not gonna recognize you at all for this kind of thing. And for the Batman thing, I will never write Batman again, I guess, because I'll never write it for DC, and that's the only place it's going to happen. But Marvel, Marvel has not, Marvel's a corporation too, but not like DC is a corporation. So
They treated you nice. They were like, Steven, we respect you.
Not all the time. Nobody treats you fine all the time.
Well, that's true.
I've had my issues with them, but I mean, in general, yeah. And so, if Marvel called and said, "Hey, we want you to do something," I probably would. But I don't necessarily expect that because, again, what I would want would be what I used to have, which is the complete creative freedom. You want me to do Star-Lord? I'll do the Star-Lord that seems to work for me. And I'm not sure that is possible these days, But yeah, I mean, in theory, in the abstract, Marvel, yes, DC, no.
Fair enough. Okay. I mean, it makes sense in a way, too. I kind of get that because I've heard a little bit of stuff about DC. Won't go on record saying, but I've heard a little bit of stuff with them, so I get it. But that's interesting though, because if they don't, they should call you, I think, for stuff. But that's just my opinion of, hey, respect the creators, because you always you gotta know, you gotta respect the creators, because if you, to me, that's like the biggest. There's a lot of things, but that's kind of being a real big asshole about it. Because if you don't respect where the things came from, then you can't respect the thing in general.
Well, I mean, DC started its whole concept with ripping off Siegel and Schuster.
That's true. Oh fuck.
Right? That's been their motif from the start.
Yeah.
That the law says that we own it. End of story. Thank you for playing.
Yeah.
But they've never had an appreciation. I mean, they hired Jack Kirby and then redrew his faces, right? I mean, they don't have an effect. That's just, that's, I could go on, and I'm not going to, but, no, not working for them.
Fair enough. Well, we're coming to the end of the show here, good man. And I definitely got to say is thank you for coming on to this show, because this has been really enlightening of an episode, to say the least. Yeah, and I think, you have a lot of good stuff to do, and like you got a lot of good stuff to talk about, and you give the truth about a lot. I love it with a passion. But what is do you, obviously we talked about it before, do you just do conventions, or do you do like other things as well? Like be like, hey, can you come speak at this college or anything like that, or give a few classes on that? Or is it just kind of like you're just doing the conventions and working at home sort of thing?
No, I do, I've done colleges, yes. I do conventions. I don't do an infinite number of any of that stuff. Again, I got other things to do than spend all my weekends in hotel rooms. I like I like conventions. I like to go. I like to talk to the fans. I always have. I like good, bad, or indifferent. I like to talk to the people who are reading the stuff that I'm putting out there, or did put out there. So I like conventions, but I don't want to spend all my time doing them. And yes, I've done college campus things, and it's basically, if it interests me, I'll do it. We talked earlier about my having, this coronavirus maybe closing down some of the conventions that I thought I was going to go to, and I'm not happy about that.
Well, yeah.
But that's a whole different story. But I mean, if people think I've got something to say that they would find useful, then yeah, But I mean, I turn down half the conventions that I get offered. I mean, because I only want to do so many.
Fair enough. Yeah. Oh, I get it. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense because, you got the conventions. They're a good place to go.
I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. Actually, I am on Instagram, but not any sort of big thing. I'm not in, one thing that I was too early for was social media. I mean, I'm not interested in being online all the time. So I don't have the social media presence that one is supposed to have,
Oh, that's fine. That's immediate. I was giving my next follow-up is like, do you have this? But immediately that's 100% fine. Because honestly, if you didn't get into it, don't get into it. If I didn't sign contracts, I would not do it. Well, I'd be like, oh, social media, what's that? If I knew you, I got your number. And I'll phone call you or text you or something like that, or email you. That's all. It's like social media, I'm fine without. I really am. But yeah, that's what that frees up that. But yeah, man, maybe if you come down to Phoenix this year, I'm hoping Phoenix is still happening because I'm planning on attending. I didn't get a chance to. I came in late to try to get a booth, but yeah, I will stop by and see you at Phoenix, good man.
Well, I mean,
if you come,
assuming that the show exists and assuming that it's safe to come to it,
yeah,
then I will definitely do it.
That's true.
As we're recording this, we're still at that stage where every day they say, ooh, it's even worse than we thought. But we don't really know what the bottom is or where this is going to go, So
that's true.
At the moment, I'm just going with whatever they say.
It's like, hey, I'm just going to do what the doctor says and what I can do. So, because I like to live a little bit longer, got a book thing working on. Got a couple more years still, and, just like to go.
Well, I mean, again, I'm in good health, right? I mean, I've been around for a while, but I'm in good health. But it's like, I do fall into the demographic that they say, oh, older people shouldn't do this or do that. It's like, well, I am one, so, okay.
I believe if you stuck around this long, Steven, you've survived a lot. I think you're going to be just fine.
That's my plan.
Yeah. It's like, I've been through the Raider. I've been through bird flu. I got this. I got the corona.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man. Well, yeah, man, I'm going to let you get going, good sir, because I don't want to take too much of your time tonight because it is kind of getting late. But I definitely want to say again, thank you for coming on the show. And when this book comes out, you definitely have a free spot for an ad if you ever want it.
All right, cool.
Sweet. But all right, good man. We will end the recording here. Any final advice or words to listeners and fellow writers out there?
No, I think we covered all that.
Fair, it's true. We were really motivated. This was like a TED Talk in a podcast. It kind of was. Thinking about it here. All right. Well, we're going to end the show here. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, and stay classy, writers.